The Broad Street Review podcast is an extension of Broad Street Review, Philly's home for arts, culture, and conversation, an online arts and culture journal covering the greater Philadelphia area. I'm your host, Darnell Radford. Today on the podcast, we continue coverage of Philly Theater Week with Cannonball Festival's Miniball. Producers Ben Grinberg, Mae West, and Colby Calhoun join us in the virtual studio. Here is my interview with Cannonball Festival's Miniball. And welcome to the podcast. I am your host, Darnell Radford, and today I am in the virtual studio with three dynamic artists who are representing Cannonball Festival's Miniball, which is part of Philly Theater Week, which, if you're listening to this, is going on right now. I hope you've RSVP'd for your PWICs, and we're going to do some introductions here, and we're going to start here with Colby, and we'll do introductions.
Hi, my name is Colby Calhoun. I am a dance theater artist who's relatively new to Philly. I'm also an associate producer with Cannonball and the founder of Very Good Dance Theater, which is making its Philly premiere at Miniball.
All right, Colby, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. And I'm going to skip over to Mae just for a second.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mae. I am a company member of Almanac Dance Circus Theater, and I'm also one of the founding co-producers of Cannonball Festival.
Hello, Mae. Welcome to the podcast. All right, now Ben.
Hey, everybody. My name is Ben. I am one of the Cannonball producers and co-founder of Almanac. And yeah, super excited to be here.
And Ben, welcome back to the Emory Studios.
Thank you.
And everyone, welcome into this virtual space, because this is where we live, and this is where we've lived for quite some time.
Yeah.
So here we are at the 6th annual Philly Theater Week. I was saying in my last interview, where has the time gone? I cannot believe that it's 6th annual. It just feels like a few years kind of flew off the radar.
Absolutely.
For many reasons, of course, we all know. But the Cannonball Festival has been building up quite a reputation, and I have not had a chance to talk about Cannonball. I'm so sorry. But we're here now. So Ben, why don't you tell us a little bit about Cannonball Festival and Miniball?
Yeah, absolutely. So Cannonball is a resource sharing platform for independent artists of all disciplines. And it is now the largest and one of the first hubs of the Philadelphia Fringe. So we program back-to-back shows across a couple of different venues. So audience members can kind of come and see one show and have a social experience out in our beer garden, and then go see a different show, and kind of it's a one-stop shop for all the things that make Fringe really, really awesome. And we were planning to start Cannonball in 2020, but then obviously that did not happen, as no one was really gathering at all. And it was primarily about gathering artists together, gathering audiences together. So the first Cannonball happened in 2021, and we produced, it's getting harder for me to remember these numbers as time goes on, but I think we produced about 28 shows. And then the second Cannonball happened last year, 2022, and we produced about 65 shows for over 350 performances across two venues. So it got really big, really fast, and is kind of still growing. And we've just been so amazed consistently by how many artists have chosen to jump in with us to be a part of this kind of experiment and a new way of producing during the Philly Fringe. And it's been a model that's been really, really successful. And so in after the first Cannonball, we decided that we couldn't wait a full another year to bring artists together for that back-to-back programming. And so we did what we called a Miniball, actually as part of Philly Theater Week last year in 2022, which was great. It was a pretty successful, super fun. I think we had 7 shows and 21 performances last year, all at the Moss Building in South Kensington. And then we did another mini ball in December, and here we are again with our third mini ball, which is coming back to the Moss Building, which we're super excited about.
Yeah, I think this is such a great idea. The first time I was overwhelmed by um, mini festivals, I guess, for lack of a better term, was when I took a trip to Edinburgh for the Festival Fringe, and I didn't realize there were so many other smaller festivals that were in and around the overall Edinburgh Festival Fringe, and so like when Free Philly Fringe uh, spawned, and now with Cannonball. Like, I think that's such a great idea because we know that there are art is continuously being produced, and to kind of condense it into this one collective, sort of opener for our theater season, our theatrical creative season. It just didn't seem like it made the most sense. It was so overwhelming. It was like, how could you possibly get to everything, um, that you wanted to see? And you would feel bad that you would miss things. You might have FOMO. And now there's so many more options. So I'm so glad that Cannonball has spawned this mini ball, and that mini ball happens more often, so that you don't have to get out of that kind of mindset of uh, festival energy. I think that festival energy is also really good too. It seemed like in the Fringe there was only a time. That's the only time where you're really thinking about. Um, I'm going to go to 3 shows today before noon,
Yeah.
and then I have 4 more in the evening, and then I'm going to end up at the festival bar. So this is great. May, tell us how you got involved in all this.
Sure, most definitely. So I became a company member of Almanac. Ooh, I don't even know, maybe 5 or so years ago at this point. And I was along for the ride as one of the original producers of the festival whenever we started to, you know, investigate this idea of a festival hub and investigate how we could pool resources to offer something more sustainable to the community. And yeah, I've been so lucky to be along for the ride from the start.
Great, great. And Colby, you're bringing to the lineup an offering from Very Good Dance Theater. And so tell us about Very Good Dance Theater.
Yeah. So Very Good Dance Theater is sort of a project that I started in Dallas, almost I guess as a joke, and that was um, sort of where the name Very Good Dance Theater came from. Is that there was this festival that I don't think they're doing anymore called the Festival of Independent Theaters, which is sort of similar, a similar festival in which they have like shows all day, and they do it sort of on an audience sharing model, where they'll put 2 shows, like 2 one acts back to back with like a 10-minute intermission. And so I wanted to submit to the show, and I knew that like all the shows were mostly like straight white people, and so I was like, let's get literally only queer people of color to do a show and to dance around on stage and yell and cry. And we'll call it very good dance theater because it's really good. Um, and we did that. And it ended up being like we sold out every show. And like some people came back to see it. Like I think we performed maybe 6 times for the festival. Some people came and saw it 4 or 5 times. And there was just this like huge outpouring from this community that really had not been and still really isn't represented at all, but especially not in Dallas theater. And so it kind of became a real thing then. And that was in 2019. So then, of course, once we got all this traction, we got a bunch of buzz, and then it was like, the world is shut down. So, that kind of sucked. But, we're back, and we've done a lot of different things. We're always sort of shifting how we're playing with, what equals good or what equals dance or what theater is supposed to be, and how it serves us. And yeah, I'm really grateful to bring that to Philly, which seems like an environment that is maybe a little bit more conducive to what it is and what it is we do and who we are. So yeah, does that answer the question? I never know what I'm talking. I'm just like, it's so weird because I'm like living inside of it. I don't always know what it is that we're doing, you know?
Well, one thing I will say, I do feel like Philadelphia has a very supportive artistic community. It's the kind of place where you can say, "Hey, I'm new," and then before you can really get that out of your mouth, you're getting a ton of resources. Oh, here's who you need to talk to.
Totally.
Uh, you should connect to. Do you know? Oh my God, give me your number. I'm going to connect you to so many
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
Have you met?
Exactly. I mean, that really has been
Yeah.
my experience, which really, Cannonball was one of the first things I did when I moved here. So instantly I was just like connected to so many people who were, so supportive of me and getting me involved with everything. So I'm really grateful for that. But that's sort of the vibe that I've gotten the whole time is it's not like a competitive um thing in the way that I'm used to, so it's still weird for me.
You're like, I can't believe they're not trying to snatch wigs out of me.
Literally, literally. I'm like, I can't believe they just said, "Oh yeah, that's cool. Love that you're doing it," instead of like hating me for doing something that's cool or.
Yeah. It is wonderful. Like sometimes we are critical of the word community because we can see where things kind of come up short.
Hmm.
But when the word is quite fitting, it is such a good feeling.
Yeah.
It's such a good thing to know that there truly is a community.
Yes. Very
Yes,
much that.
definitely. So, here we are in 2023, and there's still, we are optimistic inside of the community, but there's still a lot of uncertainty out in the world. Can you talk about, I guess I'll put this towards Ben and May, uh, talk about what it was like sort of wrangling and getting the mini ball together. Was it a challenge? Was it easier than you thought it was going to be? Like, yeah, talk about that process.
Yeah. Um, I can start, and then maybe if you want to jump in and add stuff, we are always in a process of experimentation and trying to like support and reflect back any energy that I think is directed at us as Cannonball. And so, we weren't really planning on doing a December mini ball, but we kind of got an offer we couldn't refuse from Christchurch Neighborhood House, which is where that past mini ball happened. That they were willing to give us space for free in exchange for a bartered performance from Almanac at one of their fundraisers. And we were like, well, that's great. And it's such a beautiful space. And we were able to take the space over, and it was great. And, that was a new thing for us. We hadn't produced a Miniball at that time of year. And, on reflecting on it, it was right after Fringe. Fringe, it was the entire month of September. And then we were like back to production in December. And, we were tired. And so I think this Miniball was like, it was a question for a while for us in terms of like, hey, do we really have capacity to do this? Does it feel like we need to do another Miniball so soon after the last Miniball? And, I think in some ways we're gluttons for punishment, but also just like there's so much amazing work that this community of independent artists that, makes up Cannonball and makes Cannonball happen. There's so much all the time. And so, yeah, we ended up deciding to go for it and to produce this Miniball. And I think once we made that decision a little later on our calendar, on our timeline than we might normally, there were a bunch of great artists that were interested in sharing work. And so, I ended up being really excited for the lineup. And I'm also really excited about Miniball because of its sort of relationship on the calendar to Cannonball. One thing that's really lovely about it on our end as producers is it's kind of like the kickoff of all of the anticipation and build up towards Cannonball. Our open call is open right now, and so we're receiving like all of these applications from so many Philadelphia-based artists and artists from all over. And if you're listening to this and you are an artist, you should absolutely apply to our open call, which has all of these different production tracks that you can take a look at, and is closes on April 16th. But I think it's a really great sort of moment to like kick off that forward-looking energy towards Fringe. And some of the things that I'm really excited about in this Miniball are that like I think there are a lot of sort of newer, more experimental ideas that are going to like bloom and blossom into super well considered and well crafted full length shows for September. Not to say that they're not also totally worth seeing right now, but I'm really excited about the idea that Cannonball can become a kind of like new work development, a part of the new work development landscape in Philly that also offers, some of that support to artists that might not fit into some of the more traditional disciplines. And so, I think it's awesome that some of the artists that are going to be doing this Miniball might go on and share their work in a larger way, in a more developed and more produced way in September. That's happened a little bit in the past. Like last year, Alex Tatarski shared Dirt Trip, which was a show that was kind of at the beginning of its development process in April, and then ended up sharing that show again in September with like a lot more production value. And it was kind of a win-win for everybody because the audiences who saw it in April were really excited to go back and see that show again in September. And so word spread and like everybody was trying to get into that show. And also like the work had time to like mature and develop, before it was on like the larger platform of being an Icebox and happening in September. So yeah, I think I definitely veered from your original question, which is how I was preparing for this movie called in.
No, that was
But
great.
yeah, no, it's been good. It's exciting.
Yeah. So May, I'll go to May for this. May, tell us about the lineup for Miniball.
Yes, most definitely. So for this Miniball, we've got 13 performances of 6 really incredible shows. Of course, you heard a bit from Colby about Very Good Dance Theater's piece that they will be, putting up as their Philadelphia premiere, which is The Other Gardeners. We also have some previous Cannonball hits. So we've got John Miller, Giltner coming back with their show called Your Show. So you can go and see a bunch of shows, including Your Show, and lots of other shows. We've got Daughter of the Sea coming back from Laura Lizcano, which is a really beautiful live album of some of Laura's work that involves themes around generational trauma and immigrant identity. as well as radical self-love and sexual desire. So that is a really beautiful sort of contemporary jazz piece. We've got Sarah Nattel joining us with a new piece that she's developing called Sarah Nattel Marina Abramovic. And you could sort of guess from the title what might be happening in that piece. It's going to be a really, really incredible clown madness slash part therapy session, supposedly. So if that's something that you're in the market for, we've got lots of really great clown for this Miniball. We also have Make Me Out of Clay by Ella Gabe, who is also sort of a newer artist to Philadelphia. And their work is focused on a lot of Jewish identity and specifically Jewish folklore and how that relates to a lot of their movement work and sort of their grappling with, all of these various identities that they hold. And we also have, as been mentioned, Alex Tatarsky has been a part of Cannonball and Miniball since the beginning. And so Alex is coming back this time to present Tartar's Wormhole, which is going to be a mixed bill showing of some pieces from Alex's friends. They're going to be presenting a lot of comedy, a lot of dance theater, performance art, diluted rants, a little bit of everything that sort of mixes and smashes all of the dance theater goodness together into another really great clown piece. And I didn't speak that much on John Miller's show, so really all you need to know is that John Miller is the non-binary son of God, and they're really struggling to get their dad to use their right pronouns. And so we get to join them for a rock concert.
It's really good.
It's really good. It's really, really good. Slut era. It's amazing. So yeah, this Miniball is packed full of tons of clown, but we also have some really beautiful pieces to round it out. Whatever mood you're looking to enter and leave with, Miniball can definitely supply that this time.
Wow, that is a great lineup. I think your show will be quite relatable. There is a generation in our community, in and around our community, having a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
With pronouns.
It is really beautiful, especially as a trans producer.
And you love them.
Yeah. To see so many incredible trans artists on stage right now, it just feels really awesome to be able to walk into space and see all of this work from all of these awesome Philly artists.
Absolutely. I'll put this to all of you, and then we'll dig into the other gardeners. What do you think? What do you think has changed that is allowing for so much queer visibility in art that wasn't there before? We had queer artists who were queer forever, and but now we just see a lot more than we saw before. What do you think has sort of ushered in that kind of change to that raising of visibility?
Yeah, I mean, I can start and say that I think it definitely has a correlation to do with the pandemic and how it traumatized us all into living with ourselves in a way that we were able to avoid beforehand. And I think not only that really inspired a lot of people. I know so many people who started the pandemic I don't know, engaged to some man and then came out as a non-binary lesbian. And I love that for them. Because I think really this harsh reflection period both inspired us all to really look within ourselves and figure out who we are and what we wanted to be. And then I think it's also sort of just a combination of everybody is far more visible now than ever before, and I think that continues to increase. And as a person who, used to live in a place that was not always very safe, um, I was always like labeled as like bold or brave, but I just realized like how visible I was, and that I couldn't really hide, I couldn't invisibilize myself, so I might as well be an advocate and might as well be loud. And I think as the not to be like a Black Mirror tech conspiracy surveillance spy theorist or something, but it's just like the internet, y'all. And so everybody can see everybody now. And I think that um, thankfully has inspired a lot of queer people to be like, well, if y'all are going to see me anyways, I might as well tell you who I am. I might as well, show you myself as I want to be. And I think, unfortunately, it's also like inspired a lot more violence and danger. But yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah. Anybody else want to chime in?
Sure. Yeah,
I mean, Colby is. Oh, sorry, man. I think there's a little delay. You go.
Go ahead, May.
Okay, so sorry. Yeah, no, I completely agree with what Colby was saying, but I also feel like I'm seeing now just as this generation shifts into a space and a time where we are able to gather resources and redistribute them ourselves. Like, power is coming into more queer people's hands
Mm-hmm.
just on the basis of our generation now getting to the point where we have been able to ourselves collect a variety of skills and have been able to communally be able to redistribute those among our own community and really begin to platform each other, right? So the in many ways, I sort of feel like that's what Cannonball is really doing ourselves, as a group of mostly queer producers, and seeing the true needs of our own community and being able to say, okay, well, we've worked over the course of our careers to be able to develop all of these production skills in order to offer opportunities to artists. What artists do we want to see, right? And um, doing that sort of reflective work as well of who is being produced right now and who isn't, and how can we begin to uplift the work that we want to see as artists, in this sort of peer-to-peer support model.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with all of both of those points and everything that Colby and May said. And I think another thing is like queer identities have always been politicized and have pretty much always been under attack. But I think also like there is something about polarization that does play into like this visibility that we talk about as well, just because it's identities are being, legislated as being like illegal in parts of this country. And, that's a really real threat. And I think, since 2016, I think for me at least, and I think for a lot of other, like well-meaning white liberals, there was really a wake-up call in terms of like, oh, these are not like abstract social battles to be fighting. Like these this is real, and like these have real consequences. And so yeah, I think for me, like that mission that May is talking about, it's like it's not just nice, to be able to have this work. It's like it really gives my life meaning to be able to be in community with these artists who share my identities and who have identities that I don't have, that are sharing and creating work that allows me to understand something about their life and their existence and their experience. And, that seems really, really important right now. And it seems like uh, it's the stakes are high, So I think that's another reason why we're seeing a lot more art, maybe that's centered on telling these stories.
Absolutely. And and when something big happens, like the pandemic, there's a hunger to like try to make sense of what's going on, and then that creates an urgency for relevance, and so you end up focusing more on uh, the conversations of today instead of running back to the canon
Mm.
and looking at things that, like, oh, I just wanted to escape into this space, and oh, this piece brought me so much joy, so let's just mount it again. And it's like, but there is there's a whole lot to unpack right now, and you can't sure, you can draw comparisons for some of the stuff in the canon to what's going on today, but or you could embrace a current relevant story that is, that needs your attention as well. And so yeah, I think that is so great, and I think that in my opinion, that is part of this urgency too. We've always had it, but maybe as a community we had gotten comfortable at some point, just trying to get butts in seats, and the same
Ugh.
butts, and now those butts don't want to leave their houses. So it's like it's just a very interesting. It's just an interesting dynamic now. But I'm so overwhelmed, not just with what's on stage, but just what's in media in general. I'm like, how can you actually sit in a theater or turn on the TV or go into the movie theater and not see all of these examples of the fabric of society and say, not them,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and be exclusionary. It just doesn't make any sense. And so I feel like, for me, when I'm consuming, when I'm engaging in the art, I'm definitely looking for the things that I can relate to. And unfortunately, there's a good part of the canon doesn't look like me, and so I'm just like, I don't know how I fit in here. So I'm just so excited that everyone is, that we're creating more spaces for 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 everything that's current to be out front and visible, and I hate to say normalize. Like, normalize isn't the word. It's you know it's just it. Like, it is what it is. Like, we're here, and we've always been here.
Yup.
So there we are. Absolutely. Colby, because you are here, let's dive a little bit more into the other gardeners. Tell us about the origin of this piece and how it came together. Where it is right now in Miniball.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that oh God. Right. It's so convoluted. But it just sort of it came together in a really like serendipitous way. Is that this was like an idea for a script. Sometimes I pretend I'm a playwright. And so this is an idea for a script that I had written like years ago with this idea that Adam and Eve get kicked out of the Garden of Eden, but there is this whole other cohort of gardeners who tend to the garden who now have to pick up the slack for these people who just can't follow the rules. Something about the theme of like the burden of Black women to take care of everybody. Um, and So I was writing that for a while, but then I just like it wasn't a story that I felt like I either wanted to tell all by myself or that I could tell all by myself, and so I sort of put it on the back burner. And there was never really an opportunity to do it in Dallas. And then when it came to, I think it was in December, the Black Theater Coalition in Philly had micro grants open, and so I was like, well, let me just submit this project. Like, who knows? I have it, the copy in the back burner, and so I submitted it. And one of my friends that I made here during Cannonball, Micah Latt, uh, had just lost their job due to some transphobic drama, um, which sucked, obviously. But I was like, hey, I know you don't have a job, but I just got some money. Do you want to do a show? Here, have this money. Um, and then Miniball was happening, and Ben was like, hey, we're doing Miniball. Do you want to help produce it? And I was like, sure. Also, I have a show. And so it just sort of like all fell together. And I don't know, it is the way that we work in Very Good Dance Theater is that it is always this organic product out of the collaboration between who's in the room. And so we sort of really try to destabilize the power structures. Like there's no like director or like the leader necessarily, because we're all leaders in our own right. And so I came into our rehearsal, like our first rehearsal with Micah, and I had like all these like really smart and like crafted ideas about how we, show the origin of, Black dance and like what effect that has on us now, and obviously motifs about church and like religious trauma, and that, very potent intersectionality between being both Black and queer, and for me also being Southern, and sort of all of that. And and then Micah was like, we were doing something where I was like, oh, we should like incorporate Ailey for this moment, and then we'll talk about Revelations, and then it'll be about like body trauma and how like being trans is really hard, and like all of that is true, and it all still lives in the show, and I do still think it's all smart. But Michael was like, okay, why? I was like, I don't know, because it's sad and this shit sucks. And then like he was like, okay, but like I don't want to be traumatized. And I was like, well, yeah, no, me neither. Yeah. Um, and so there was something that he had said, and I was like, well, it's just like I'm trying to figure out, instead of me trying to follow the mainstream, right? It's sort of the theme of like my work, and also the theme of Very Good Dance Theater, which obviously bleeds into the other gardeners, is like instead of trying to follow the mainstream or like the plan that has been set out for us that is doomed for us to fail, how do we figure out what we do well? And Micah was like, I'm not even trying to figure out what I do well. I'm just trying to do whatever it is that I do, like whatever it is. And I was like, yeah, no, like actually, because when we think about like what really is the liberation, is it like performing at our top for who for people who paid a ticket price to get in and watch it? And so yeah, we talked a lot about that. And so it is in this very fun space for me, is that there are some really like joyful, like queer, very Black moments, and there is as some very like sad, very truthful moments, and then there's also this um, nice, really meditative quality, which I think really relates back to this idea of the Garden of Eden, and like being able to like, if we could get back to that place to where liberation is not always like, look at how good we are, we're so good at everything, and that's why we're the best, and that's why we deserve liberation, but just like liberation lives in these moments of like playing a video game or like sitting down with your friend and doing nothing. Because one of the main things that I came into this story, like this approach, is this idea of like this paradise or this liberation of the Garden of Eden, this like sacred thing that apparently we lost because of these people we don't know, but apparently are related to, whatever. was like this idea that I didn't like the idea that's like, oh, that liberation, that safety, that joy was abolished, and you can't do anything about it. But this idea that like paradise can't be abolished, liberation cannot be removed from the equation. It's just obscured, and it's harder to find. And I think I'm like really grateful that Micah is my collaborator on this. I think again it just worked out really well. Is we both bring something, these like very interesting, sometimes opposing and sometimes very colliding perspectives on like what we want to show about who we are and how we came to be, and where we're going. So yeah, I don't know. It's going to be very experimental as it always is. But I'm really excited to enjoy it, and maybe other people will too. But I'm really grateful to be in a place right now that I don't feel like it has to be for other people. I think that I'm inviting other people into the experience, and into the community as a practice.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what's good about a festival is that people will find they will gravitate to the things that interest them the most.
Hmm.
And it's not if you take a traditional theater company and may only have one show, one production at a time, and you read the description, you find out information about it, and you can't really find your way in, and you may not consider it at the time. But with a festival, you have so many options, and especially with Philly Theater Week, kind of removing the barriers
Hmm.
by making it pay what you decide. Just try it out,
Yeah, and that's what
see what you think.
I'm really grateful, because that was sort of my concern, is like the demographic of people that we are and also make work for is very small. And I was like, I want to be honest, I don't know if people are gonna come. I don't know the community yet, and I don't know if people are gonna be interested. And I mean, I do think there is obviously something very overarching that applies to everyone about that story of like, who are you? Where did you come from? And what are those burdens you carry with you that aren't your fault? And how do we work together to get rid of them? And I think that really applies to everyone. But I'm really grateful that it's like, it is sort of low stakes. The Cannonball has like removed the barriers for people to see if they're interested in the thing. It's not, they have to pay $35 and sit down for 2 hours. And if they hated it, then it's like, well, I lost on that one. It is, yeah, it is really equitable for us and for the audience to engage in it.
Yeah. Well, along with the other offerings of Miniball, for particularly for the other gardeners, you do have 3 opportunities to experience this piece: April 6th, 7th, and 8th. And again, it's pay what you decide. So go and experience it, figure it out, find a way in. I always say, if you can't see yourself walking through the front door, maybe find a window, maybe the latch in the latch in the crawl space is unlocked. You can find some creative way in, and just find your own way to sort of look at the art and kind of interpret it for yourself. And you can't really form an opinion until you get there and experience it. So you have to. Um, yeah. So great. Thanks for unpacking that.
Yeah, yeah.
uh, Digging into it. So on top of it, not that the mini ball isn't enough. Like you could totally just park, uh, at the Moss Building and fulfill your. But the mini ball actually runs a little bit longer than Philly Theater Week does. Um, so you have so you can go all the way to the 8th to experience mini ball. But with that said, are there are there parts of Philly Theater Week beyond mini ball that uh, all of you are interested in, or saw in the lineup and said, you know what, that's something, if I can get the time, or if someone asks me, I'm going to tell them to. consider this as well.
I'll go. Yeah, I have to definitely shout out Paige Phillips's new piece, which is called "The Tale of the Slaughtered Hog," which is going to be happening at Icebox. I'm very excited for it because, full disclosure, my partner and other Cannonball producer Nick Johnzak is performing in it, so I've gotten a little bit of a window into the creation process, and it just seems like it's going to be a really fun, surprising, and really well crafted and well considered dance theater piece about West Virginia and coal miners, and like sort of why we in Philadelphia should care about them. And I think it's going to be really fun, and that's also part of another kind of mini festival experience that also has a show which I think is technically outside of the bounds of Philly Theater Week, but I'm going to plug here anyway, which is Annie Wilson's Always the Hour. And so I'm really excited for those two works. I don't know if you're not familiar with Annie Wilson's work. Annie is like a totally brilliant choreographer, and is making work that is about kind of generational trauma and substance abuse, and serious themes. But I know that Annie will find amazing, hilarious, poignant, and beautiful and haunting ways into that. And so I'm super excited for both of those pieces, and then also excited just to see, there's lots of current and probably future Cannonball artists who are also doing work during Theater Week. I know Chris Davis has Your Sunday Best, which is always awesome and is a really great, that's a really great time to go check out that mixed bill that he always does a really great job curating. And yeah, I think those are my top things I'm excited for.
I'm making notes for the show notes, putting links in.
Awesome.
Okay. May, Colby, any other pieces that sparked your interest in the guide?
Well, yeah. So I was looking through it. This is the truth. This is honestly the truth for me, is that I get so like I just get so excited for anything that looks like gay or not just white people. But the thing that's hard about it is I feel like I've been saying this for the past 7 months,
Agreed.
but I still just don't know anybody, so I don't know
I
what
pointed
anything
out
is
what was great about the guide.
supposed to
Oh,
be.
sorry. We had a delay.
Um, yeah, and so I don't know like anybody's stuff. I know Linnea Bond has a show who I never got to see her other show at Cannonball, but she's iconic. I saw, what was it? This is me pulling it up. The Bed Show. What is that? Unattended Baggage. Found it. Like immersive and site specific, which is what I went to school for, is immersive and site specific. And so I'm just really excited for a lot of these things that seem like, again, stuff that like we really just would not get to see in Dallas, or would not be being supported on such a wide range. So I don't know. I am excited for a lot of things. I know that sounds generic, but it's the truth. I feel like there's a lot of options, which I'm not used to.
Yeah. That's what makes it so great. It's not just what was generally planned as part of the theater season. There is work that is specifically being devised and developed and put together for Philly Theater Week, which is also great because you may not be able to commit to a long run in a space, and just having a couple of days where you can showcase your work in a collective thing where the mindset is kind of that we are looking at experimental works in development. Things are coming, and I think that that is also always a great thing. I think that's I am a I am a fan of festivals. Like I do like the energy of Fringe. I wish we could carry that throughout the year, um, because there's just we just don't we just kind of park into everything else that is coming at us throughout the year, and it's only when there's a festival do we actually we sort of slow down and get consumed by the festival,
Mm.
which is really great. And it seems like the only time we can actually remind ourselves, like, hold on a second. There's a lot right here that we can really dig into. Um, yeah, there's yeah, there's a lot of stuff I'm very excited to see in the lineup. Um, I had a chat with Jenna Kersey about Johnny Depp, a retrospective on late stage capitalism,
Great show.
and just an example of work that continues to develop. So I did. I chased quite a few artists, Almanac included, to Edinburgh for the festival Fringe, and Johnny Depp was one of the pieces that was at the festival that year, along with Chris Davis and Almanac as well. And it's so great to see that those are still around, and we had a conversation about how the world that is Johnny Depp has kind of evolved, not evolved, but like continues to change and become a bit of a dumpster fire that's worth that's worth an artist kind of interpreting or making sense of. And so I think every time that comes up, you say, what is Johnny Depp into now? So I think that's it's great that that's in the lineup. But then there are classic pieces that are in there as well. Yeah, Wilma's doing 12th Night, and Bristol's doing Cabaret. Without a Q is doing a Golden Girls murder mystery, and if you have not seen it, it's a lot of fun. And food and booze and cheesecake. Good times. But the it's seven pieces in Miniball, not to be missed. These are all so exciting and engaging. All at the Moss Building, right?
Yes.
Yes. All at the
Yeah,
Moss Building.
yeah. Definitely worth your time if you want to just park there for a second and just experience everything that's at the Moss. That would be a great thing to do. Yeah. So I don't know. Is there anything else you wanna add before we close out here, about the mini ball, the theater week in general? Why
Just
people should come engage with us?
Yes, I mean, I think you said park at the Moss Building, and I do want to just uplift that we have awesome food vendors coming for Mini Ball. We're gonna have Ruben and Paloma, who have an amazing kitchen called That Pickles John, which is Haitian food. And you really can come park yourself, eat delicious food, have some drinks provided by Sutton's, which is a great restaurant just down the street, and see all of these shows. And then for folks who are more interested in supporting this work and really love the mission of pooling resources and getting to see these works develop over time and just want to support Cannonball, we also have our cast off event. And it is our annual fundraiser for Cannonball, and there's going to be free food and free drinks and lovely performances, including some excerpts of some of those mini ball shows, so you can come and see which ones you might want to check out further. And that's on April 1st from 6 to 8 p.m. At the Moss Building. And Yeah, so definitely recommend that folks who are interested in supporting Cannonball or interested in just checking out more of what it is we do can come on by and celebrate the kickoff of this season with us.
Ben, so what if there's a listener who says, "Oh my God, I'm going to be out of town, but I'm so glad all of this is happening. Like, I wish there was a way that I could support
Ah,
Cannonball and the mini ball. Like, what can I do? I feel like I'm lost. I don't know what to do. I was already scheduled. I don't know what to do. What else could people do to support Cannonball's efforts and the mini ball's efforts?
absolutely. There are so many things that folks can do. You can go to our website, which is cannonballfestival.org, and you can click on the donate button, or you could just go to cannonballfestival.org/donate if you have money that you would like to donate. And I think Cannonball is famous, maybe becoming famous for our speeches after shows where we say, that we really are, community fueled, and we will take anything that people want to give us. So if you have money, we will absolutely take your money. It goes to supporting hundreds of artists every year, and it really goes super far because we're able to pool resources. If you don't have money but you have time, you're more than welcome to come volunteer for the festival. If you're free during Miniball, we're still looking for a couple of volunteers, or all during the month of September. We always need a lot of volunteers to make Miniball happen, to make Cannonball happen. And if you don't have time, but you have resources, we'll take your in-kind stuff. If you have drinks or food for artists, if you have something you want to donate to our silent auction, if you teach yoga and want to offer a yoga class to our artists, we'll take literally anything you have. And if you don't have any of those things to give, you probably are an artist, and we want to produce your work. So check out the open call, also on our website, cannonballfestival.org.
That's great. I've been saying nothing says support like a sustaining contribution.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Whether it's time, talent, or resources. I think it's more important now more than ever to just find a way that you can consistently lend your support, however you deem it justified to lend your support to the arts.
You can
And
become a
great.
monthly donor via PayPal, and we love everybody who does that. It truly is such a relief. Yeah.
Absolutely. Great. Great. Okay, well, this was a great chat. We got a lot discussed here. There was so much to talk about. Yeah, so um, go to theaterphiladelphia.org and click on the Philly Theater Week link and download the digital guide so that you can see all of the wonderful artists who have got it together to present in Philly Theater Week. But then also, you can specifically go to cannonballfestival.org/miniball to see the offerings that are particular to Miniball. And it's all pay what you decide. So just throw a few bucks in, and if you can't make it, leave your bucks there anyway. The support is welcomed, however you decide to do it. But Colby Calhoun, Ben Grinberg, Mae West, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us about Cannonball and Miniball, and thank you for being a part of Philly Theater Week. Philly Theater Week, if you're listening to it, if you're listening to this now, it is now through April 2nd, but there's so much of these wonderful productions that will extend beyond Philly Theater Week. Philly Theater Week is really just kind of like a taste of what our community has to offer. So yeah, download that guide and find a way to experience, engage, and support these wonderful artists. So Colby, Ben, May, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank
you so
you.
much for having us, Darnell. This was awesome.
Want to get involved with Broad Street Review? Head on over to our website at www.broadstreetreview.com and click Get Involved at the top. While you're there, help keep us running and click Donate to find out how. Connect with us on social media, on Facebook and Twitter at BroadST Review. Thank you for helping to keep the conversation going.